How should you choose a religious belief? Is it just your preference, or is it something else? Hello everyone, I'm Nick Peters, the gaming theologian, and I affirm the virgin birth. On my last episode, I was told by someone that the audio sounded too quiet on my end, so let me know if this seems any better. I've done a mic check and it's at the level I was told it should be at. But anyway, this is Kid Icarus of Myths and Monsters, and this game came out 4 years after the original. It's a Game Boy game, as you can tell, and in it, Polentia has a dream that a dark force is going to come and try and conquer Angel Land, so Pit has to go on a quest to find the three sacred treasures once again and be prepared. Now, this time, though, you can fall down again. But this game still also has the same setup. There's 4 words overall. And yeah, they're a bit longer across this time. This way that it's not just one screen you walk across. It still goes around kind of that same Pac-Man format. But it's different too. I don't know how else to explain it. Like I said, there's 4 words to this one. If I saw something over there, nope. And since the last word, again, only has one lever, we're going to try and handle all of that in one day if we can. Other than that, some episodes here might be shorter than others because if I finish a word in a day, I'm going to call it quits for that day, and we'll move on. So hopefully, with any luck, we'll be done with this since I usually don't play on Sundays, don't plan on doing that, come Tuesday night. Yeah, as soon as I saw this game was coming out in my childhood, I had to get it immediately. I was so thrilled to know that Kid Icarus was coming back. Yeah, that was great on my part. Hammers are going to be much more valuable in this game because they can do a lot more normal. And yeah, some of the enemies will drop regular instead of half hearts. They'll drop what will refill your energy some. Okay. So, not too long ago, I was going through a book that I was asked to review. Good thing here in this game is you can at least go back and gather everything up until you get till you find the god of poverty. Your family doesn't care about taking that much from you. And review an apologetics book on how someone left atheism and became a believer. So I thought, okay, sure, why not? Well, it turns out he'd become a Mormon. So, as you can expect, I could not give it my endorsement. I did not enjoy it. Not just because he became a Mormon at the end, or rather he was a Mormon making his case, but because I just found the style boring. I mean, when I read a Lee Strobel book, and if he's got one of his interview books coming out, yeah, you can press down and go through the gaps. I didn't mean to then, but fortunately it doesn't kill you in this game. When he's got one of his interview books, I buy it anyway, even if it's a topic I'm familiar with, because it's like going on a journey. But with this one, no, it was just reading claims, and arguments. I'm not even going to say all of them were false. There was some good information in there. But it was just boring. I got to the end thinking, I don't know who this guy is at all. Now here's something unusual for this game. At the end of each level you can find Palentia's key, which means you go back and all the doors are open again. Which means we're going to be going back to at least the room with the god of poverty again. And seeing if we can get a different outcome this time. And many times he was often pluralistic. I remember him talking about religions of the world, and he brought out the Quran and said something like, the Quran is a book to be meditated and acted upon. Yeah, I think we've seen what happens when people act upon the Quran. And frankly, as a non-Muslim, I don't really have any reason to take the Quran that seriously. I mean, the Bible has at least been the great shaper of Western culture, such that even if you're not a Christian, you need to know about the Bible to be informed in our society. You need to know about the Quran if you want to study Arabic society. Yeah, this game also comes with a save feature. And I started thinking that this is the way a lot of people today sadly approach religious questions. We often think of it like, for instance, going down the supermarket aisle and thinking about all the selections you have. If you go down the cereal aisle, for instance, there's so much that you can choose from. Go down the soda aisle, go down the ice cream aisle. It's endless variety. That's also why I call this topic today, religion is not fast food. Because if you wanted to get some fast food, there's plenty of places you can go for different types of food. And even if you have one type of food in mind, there's still plenty of places you can go to get that one type of food. So when you're going down that section of a grocery store, or when you're choosing which fast food restaurant to go to, okay, sometimes you might have genuine health concerns around that will inform your decision. And I get that. And some of you might have very negative reactions to a certain kind of food. So no matter what, that's going to be a no-go for you. And that's fine. Like if you are lactose intolerant, for instance, odds are you're not going to be spending a lot of time in the ice cream section. But we're assuming differently for all of this. So, what I want to think about is, why should we choose a religion at all? If we decide we are going to be a religious people, what motivates us to look at one religion instead of another and say, that's the one I'm going with? For many people, religion is often a personal preference. You just pick what you like. Sometimes it could just be this is what you were born in, and so you don't think about it, you just do that. You grow up with that religious belief, and you never do anything beyond that. And, well, I don't have any problem with parents raising their children up according to their own religious beliefs, even if it's not my religion. I think most parents would still hope sometime their child will make the religion their own, instead of just saying, well, this is what I grew up with, so that's what I choose to believe. There's a great joy, and I'm sure, in a parent realizing their child is choosing for themselves. But today, usually, it's almost as if the question of truth has nothing to do with a religious choice. Now, an irony in this is that a lot of times a number of atheists do realize that a religion is making a claim about truth. Sometimes I think they can realize this more than a lot of Christians do. That when you say, I believe XYZ, what you are really saying is, I believe that this is true. Trying to remember the pattern here. I think because of, okay, I remembered wrong. You're not just saying, well, you know, I happen to like what Jesus says in this religion, and so that's going to be what I'm going to do. Or you're also not taking a smorgasbord approach. You're going to say, well, I'm going to take some Buddhism here, or mix it in with a little bit of Islam, and add a slice of Christianity just to make it interesting. If you do that, you're in essence pretty much creating your own religion entirely. You need to realize for us today, our religions are making claims about reality in the world we live in. And these have an impact in every way on how we're going to function in our society. If you believe Jesus is like he is presented in the Quran, you're going to handle things very differently than how that you think he is presented in the Bible. If you think Scientology is true, you are going to be far less likely to go get psychiatric care. If you think Christian Science, and by that I don't mean any sort of actual science, but the belief system of Mary Baker Patterson, Glover Patterson Eddy, whatever her name is, Manometrons, she had so many marriages, you're going to be saying that if that's your belief along with the Word of Faith movement, what you're going to say in the end is, I don't need any medicine, I just need to have faith. And by the way, those two movements, they are connected, just so you know. So nice kind of seeing the Grim Reaper turned into a hammer there. Fortunately, I do have one medicine that can refill 1 bar of health if I get low here. Whew. That lasted a lot shorter than it did in the original. Yeah. So, how are you to evaluate a religious belief? You evaluate it by its claims and how well those stand up. For instance, if a religion says there is a God, and you don't find the claim holds up where there is a God, you're probably not going to go for that religion. And yes, there are religious beliefs out there that do not require theism. If you think evolution is true, you could become a Christian, but you likely won't become a young earth creationist. And if you don't think it's the case that Jesus came to America after his resurrection, you're not going to become a Mormon. So start by analyzing then what is true. This means you first look at things like the theistic arguments. Does God exist? What's the data for his claim? And what's the data against this claim? And I have no problem with people being willing to read both sides of the issue. Nor do I not have a problem with it, I encourage it. I want them to be reading both sides of the issues. Usually when I see uninformed atheists, one of the first works I point them to is a book called Debating Christian Theism. And in this book, you'll get a topic covered by different scholars. For instance, the existence of God. You have one person arguing for it, one against it. The nature of morality, questions of evolution, I think. There's a chapter on the soul, questions about the historical Jesus. So you will get both sides of the issue. Strangely enough, I don't think I've ever seen any atheist take me up on the offer to read that book. It's quite bizarre, isn't it? Which, yeah, if you're an atheist and you're going to say you believe in following evidence and reason, but you don't read any books that disagree with you, you don't believe in evidence and reason. You just pay lip service to them. I often paraphrase the words of Jesus with atheists like this. And I say, they honor reason with their lips, but their heads are far from it. I want to make sure there's nothing on that little island there. Oh, no, I can see that from here. Okay. Just checking. So you'll want to look at the question, does God exist? And then, I recommend you go with the New Testament after that. Because the New Testament is one of the works out there that most makes claims that can be stood up to scrutiny. And if Christianity is true, you have salvation right then and there, a pretty simple way to figure out. Christianity starts off with a claim, Jesus rose from the dead. If you can disprove this, or you can find it's not strong enough claim, then you're done. You don't have to consider Christianity anymore past that. Christianity makes the main historical claim that can be disputed. People. It bases its claims on a very public event in that people were discussing what happened with Jesus right from the moment of the Easter event on. And again, I recommend you read the best scholars in the field here. And try and go with academic publishing houses as much as you can. Check, if you're unfamiliar with the area, check Amazon reviews. See what they say about the book in question. Look up the author's credentials. Do they have what it takes to speak in the area that they're speaking on? And keep in mind, someone can be brilliant in one field and yet not know what they're talking about in another field. And to be super fair in this, I'll even use myself as an example. For instance, I think when it comes to philosophy and apologetics, New Testament, yeah, I know what I'm talking about. And I think if we could add in video games, yes, I know what I'm talking about with video games. But if we were talking about science as science, no, I'm not the person to go to. I'm not an authority there. That's why when someone has questions for me about something like, say, the origin of the universe, I don't answer the question. I send it instead to people who I know in the field, who I think are far more competent to answer that question than I am. When it comes to someone like, say, Richard Dawkins, like, we give Dawkins a hard time because, yes, okay, The God Delusion is a horrible book. And Dawkins does not know what he's talking about in that book. But I find if I read Richard Dawkins on just science as science, like, I can't claim to tell you if he's accurate in what he's saying, but I can tell you I'm fascinated by it. I love his talking about the wonders of the animal kingdom. And since his area is, as I understand it, zoology, he's qualified to speak that way. Let's see, if Richard Dawkins really wanted to do something for science, he should just write about science as science. And I think he puts himself in a very bad spot when he makes it be that you can either believe in Christianity or science, but you can't believe in both. And he should definitely know better, because he's got friends like Alistair McGrath, who holds a PhD in, I think, evolutionary biology or something. No, I don't think that's that. I don't remember. But He's a PhD in a scientific field, and yet he's an accomplished Christian scholar. They've met before. Alistair McGrath has even written books about Dawkins's religious views. So Dawkins should know about this. The thing is, if you go to someone and tell them they can either have Christianity or they can believe in evolutionary doctrine, and I'm not going to tell you whether or not you should believe in evolution or not. I don't care. What they're going to say is, Christianity means more to me than that. If anything, by doing that, you're actually making it less likely that they will believe in evolution. You're hurting your own cause. You might have noticed also we're not setting any soldiers free this time. That's something different about this game. I think you can do that in the last level, but that's it. We got a map fail now. Now, at least we keep getting a health refill constantly. I wasn't sure if I'd be able to reach that level or not. I guess we can. But Dawkins, he is amazing when he writes about what goes on in the world of nature. I actually find myself getting excited about the topic when I read Dawkins talking about it. And that is, I think, the best service he could do for science. When he's turned it into science versus Christianity, he hasn't done any side either any favors really. Because there are plenty of people who have a very strong scientific mindset growing up, but they're Christians. And if you tell them they have to abandon what means so much to them to do science that way, they're going to say, yeah, guess I'm not doing science then. Tragic. And yeah, those are the eggplant wizards we saw just now, back again. I could do an episode on that entirely sometime. But to get back to what we're saying is, all these claims, you have to evaluate them. It's not just if you like a religion. I think if many of us are honest, if we are Christians, there are things about Christianity that we do not like at times. Personally, I don't like the idea that I'm a sinner and I need to repent. And I would happily change some positions if I could. As a divorced man, sometimes it'd be nice to get rid of that thing that says, yeah, you can only have sex if you're married. But nope. That's requirement. Now that's obviously leading to the boss room, so we're not going to go there yet. I don't remember where that is. Christianity makes calls on your life. It calls you to die to yourself. That is a serious charge. And I understand people not liking it. Christianity calls me to love my neighbor. I don't know about you, but sometimes my neighbor can get on my nerves a lot. And that neighbor that you can't stand the most, yeah, you're supposed to love them. Christianity doesn't make any exceptions for you in this regard. You are to love your enemy in Christianity. Do you really want to do that? And also, you're supposed to donate to your church. I recommend, even if we don't have a tithe, I still recommend at least 10%. To which also, since we're about to face the boss here, I'd like to remind you that what I do here is supported by people like you. So please also do make a donation to me. Become a supporter on Patreon. I'm not going to tell you give 10% to me. I mean, if you want to, cool. But consider at least $5 a month. It's a little bit for you, but it's a lot for me. I also have a Substack, and I have a Discord where we can discuss Christianity, apologetics, video games, autism, and a section for men going through divorce. As I say, I know there are women going through divorce that need support, but I can only reach men. But for now, let's get back and fight this boss, which is going to be a new one. This is actually the one I think is the hardest boss, if I'm remembering correctly in the game. The Minotaur, who appears and disappears in various locations, and you have to really learn his pattern where. Yeah, that's great, I lost the fire. And if he gets close to you, you have to move very quickly to avoid the massive number of projectiles he fires at you. I can only handle it this way because, well, I played this game for years. So, I know a pattern. But I still consider this boss, if I'm remembering correctly, to be the hardest boss. Okay, took a little risk there. I guess I shouldn't have, but oh well, we'll see how it works out in the end. Okay, he's probably, up there again. It is really good to see a boss from classic mythology in the Minotaur. As you can see, I still took a hit there. And another one there. And also along the lines what I've been saying, that if you don't think there's a strong case for Christianity, don't be a Christian then. I'm not going to tell you to become a Christian, or even to stay a Christian, based on how you feel, or what personal feelings you think you get from being a Christian. You should only be a Christian if you think it's true, or at least it's more likely than not that it's true. But if you do think it's true, you better be ready to live accordingly. Because that thing about Jesus telling you to die to yourself, he means it. even if you don't take him seriously, he's gonna take you seriously. So you better be ready for that. I think we've almost got this guy beat here. That way, this game also has the feature that you can continue with powered up weaponry after you beat it. So, yeah, got it. And yeah, we're at the overworld again. So with that, we are going to save. Next time, we'll go through the overworld here. And yes, I do have an excellent game planned, and it's one I'm really looking forward to. But for now, I'm Nick Peters, a gaming theologian. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. Please become a supporter on Patreon. It means so much. And remember, whatever you do, do it to the glory of God, even your gaming.